Hey folks, it's my third video and my first remake. I actually recorded this video on Sunday, but it's now first thing Tuesday morning and I'm remaking it. Um, One thing that actually I thought it would happen, but I'm surprised just how strong the feeling is of being self-conscious when you're just talking to your phone, when you're just speaking into the ether. Uh, Maybe that's something that will resolve itself over time. But I looked back at Sunday's video and it wasn't horrendous, but there were some moments there where I was a wee bit stuck or not quite speaking clearly or articulating myself as I usually would. So I thought I'd have another crack anyway. And second apology is for, well, first apology, because that wasn't an apology. First apology is that this is now being done under, quite an unforgiving interior light, which isn't great, but it's first thing on Tuesday morning. I've got to get this done before I start work. So yeah, it's not probably the best lighting, but if you've looked at either of my previous two videos, grand total of two, you'll know that my channel's just really about letting people have a nose at what I buy. That's the idea of the wider benefit or element of interest. And from my own point of view, I'm just having a bit of a clearer think about what I'm spending money on. I'm just trying to be a bit more accountable to myself, a bit more conscious of where my money's going, and casual small spends mostly, because those are the things that build up in my experience and can cause problems, if you don't keep track of them. But mostly it's just to let people have a bit of a nose around some random shopping basket. So this was a day out, results of a day out in Ayr on Saturday, which is a town in southwest Scotland. It was pouring with rain, really, really gloomy weekend. And as you may know, my son and myself are living in the country now, and we rarely see town size level of civilization anymore, where we live on a farm, and we're not even really attached to a village. There is a village down the road, but it's not. We're not part of that village, so to speak. So we drove into Ayr, which is an hour's journey for us, but it was a chance to actually see some life and see some other people and just lights and things happening. And I think just connect with something resembling the lifestyle we had before, which was we moved from the city. We moved from Edinburgh down to live in the southwest Scotland in the country. So anyway, without further ado, I'll start with these. I'll start with this because this is quite fun. I've never in my life before been to a head shop, but I did on Saturday. I saw these, and one of my side hustles is selling secondhand jewellery. It's not even what I'd describe as a business. It's I've just got a big box of vintage jewellery, and I've put it up for sale online. So I've got something like 60 listings, and they just sit there, and occasionally someone buys something and I post it out. But they're not very well organised at home. Everything's wrapped in tissue paper and kitchen towel and stuffed in a box. And when someone does buy something, I have to sort through it all and unwrap things to try and find out what it is. And I've been thinking for so long, little plastic bags would be fantastic for actually being able to see what what I've got in the box and being a bit more organised. So I'm going to have a sort through, put everything in these bags, just a wee thing to make life a bit more efficient. And perhaps it will spur me to actually get some more listings up, because I do have stuff that's not listed yet and it's not doing any good. You know, just wrapped up in a drawer somewhere. So yeah, that's part of me getting organised. No idea how many are in here. I'm guessing it's about 50. They cost £1.99. Don't know if it's the going rate. This isn't a purchase I'll you know, it's not a big purchase, it's a useful purchase. It's something I've wanted, and I might be cheaper somewhere else, might be cheaper on eBay or something, but you know, opportunistic purchase, and £1.99 is not breaking the bank. Air has a Primark. Now, we're not big Primark shoppers, but I mean, we went in to get out of the rain, to have a look round, you know, just to see what's around. Neither of us have bought clothes for 6 months, so we've done pretty well. But one of the things about our wee farm cottage where we're living is that when there's frost and snow on the ground, it's really, really cold. The cottage is single glazed, and some of the windows are actually rotten, so they let in a real draft. It's got a damp problem as well, and of course you have to be economical with heating because it's so expensive. And I have lived in fuel poverty actually for 3 years in Edinburgh. The last 3 years in Edinburgh, I didn't use central heating at all. And I'm very wary now that I've moved of how much it will cost to heat an old stone cottage. You know, fuel, gas prices, electricity prices are absolutely astronomical already. So, but you need to keep warm, and we're finding, my son and myself are finding, that when the temperature drops to around freezing, we're spending whole hours of each day, really prolonged periods, not being able to feel our toes. So my son saw these, and they're £3.50. They're really nicely, really thick kind of house socks. You see they've got the wee bit of grip, and they look black in this picture, but they're actually kind of navy blue, and they're really fleecy, really thick fleecy. They're pom-poms for no apparent reason, but we're not bothered about that. My son wanted a pair, so these are for him, slipper socks, and they were £3.50, which isn't outrageous. And I think they will actually really help. You know, when you're in the house, weather's too bad to really do much outside. You're fairly inactive because you're working or studying, or you know, whatever you're doing at home, and you're absolutely freezing. I think that will help alleviate the effects of the cold. Now, another thing we're missing about Edinburgh is the Polish delis, because we're really into our Polish meats and cheeses and pickles and things. But there's a lovely one in Ayr, and it's called Two Dumplings. If you ever go, and the lady who runs it is really sweet and friendly. We usually get pickles, meats, cheeses, and you know, some of their kind of cream cake, some of their baked goods when we go to Polish grocers. And this was my second time going to this one in Ayr. So we got our meats and a couple of little bits and pieces, but my son wants to make jellies, quite into that at the moment, and we saw this, which I'm assuming is gooseberry, which isn't a common flavour over here, and it was on their sale rack for 30p. So we got 2 packets of this, but this is just an example. So my son's going to make gooseberry jelly at some point. Yeah. Oh, it's just gone out of date. That's why it will be 30p on the sale rack. But who cares? That's not a big deal. That will be all right. Probably 5 years down the line. It doesn't. I don't think it's that big a deal. So we started Christmas shopping as well. It being second week of December now, and we got this from the place that's now calling itself the HMV shop. I guess HMV, as it used to be, has gone through a rebrand, and it's the HMV shop now. And it's the thing that drew us in were it's got stacks and stacks of kind of Japanese drinks and sweets and toys. Really, really expensive imports, all the funny Kit Kat flavours and things, So we went in to have a look at those. They caught our eye before we even realised it was the HMV shop, formerly HMV. And it's got the usual kind of band T-shirts and TV show T-shirts. And it actually has quite an interesting range of books, obviously leaning towards music. But quite fortuitously, we saw this, and we know someone who's mentioned within the last fortnight that they want to read "And the Ass or the Angel" by Nick Cave, and Nick Cave is obviously world famous musician, writer, poet, polymath. I think he's a screenwriter as well. I know he's worked on films. I don't know if he just does music. But yeah, that was quite a thing just to see this book, which would be the exact perfect Christmas gift for someone. So we got that. And that cost, it was £4.99. They had a deal, two books for £6. But we did have a look around, and we didn't see anything else that we wanted. And my son's he's extremely money conscious, and he doesn't like these kind of deals that end up with you spending more than you intended to. Even if it's supposedly a good deal, it would only be £1 more to get another book. He didn't see any book that he wanted, so I said, well, I'm not going to buy something just for the sake of it only being £1. Yeah, I'm not a big reader of fiction myself, but I like Nick Cave's music. Anyway, that was a good find. This, a wee bit of a sad story, this. This coming week was meant to be our Christmas do at work, and we were instructed for our Secret Santa table present it was going to be a Christmas meal. For our Secret Santa table present to do something, shop local, do something sustainable, recycled or handmade. And this was going to be the local part of the gift that I left and then on the table. And this is a business that we talk about a lot at work, actually, because they're pretty amazing. It's a local company, Blackthorn Sea Salt. You can see their web address there. So it's the Blackthorn graduation tower method. We use a natural, traditional and sustainable technique where seawater is trickled down a wooden tower packed with blackthorn branches and evaporated by the exhilarating west coast winds. And they're making really high quality salt, basically, by really, really old school, fascinatingly old school means. And if you get a chance to go and have a look at what they're doing, you should do that. You should go and have a look, because it's quite fascinating. It's not cheap. This was £3.20, I think it was. It was £3.20 or £3.40, because it was a couple of days ago. I can't quite recall. It's definitely £3.20 or £3.40. And it's not something I would buy for my household. wouldn't buy it for my table. It's, it's too expensive. Although I buy Maldon salt, but I wouldn't go that next step and buy kind of fancy blackthorn salt. But it would be a nice gift for someone, especially because we've been, it's a local business that we've been discussing at work how cool they are. But anyway, I get to gift that to someone else, and I've actually got someone in mind that I'm not going to keep it for myself. I'm going to use it in a different gift now that our Christmas do has been cancelled due to COVID. So yeah, it will still get gifted and still be enjoyed. Next purchase. Oh, this was also from Primark actually. You can see our obsession with our cold feet. This again was for my son. Thermal socks. He's tall, slim. He doesn't have a lot of body fat to start with to keep him warm. He's quite a sedentary life Monday to Friday because he's studying. So again, you can't really help it. You get cold feet when you're sitting around in a cold house. So these are thermal socks, also from Primark. They're £4, so more expensive. We were laughing at this. Look, extra warm, 3 out of 4 dots. I mean, what does that even mean? Who decides it's 3 dots? What are they measuring there? It's bizarre. So yeah, a wee bit more expensive, but being thermal, hopefully that will do the trick. This, I guess, is something I get to keep for myself, possibly, although I've not quite decided. This was £1 in a charity shop, or thrift shop as it's otherwise known. And this guy who calls himself the Highwayman was actually, he used to write a column in the Ayrshire Post I think in the 60s and 70s, and it was all about exploring southwest Scotland, Ayrshire and Dumfries and Galloway by bike. And this book, it's got some really, that's Ailsa Craig, which is a huge rock out at sea off the coast. It's got some really interesting old photos, and so this is kind of more than 40 years ago. These are the stories from more than 40 years ago of someone who's exploring this very rural part of Scotland on 2 wheels. And I thought it was really interesting, and I was going to have it as part of my secret Santa gift, because we're, everyone at work's kind of outdoorsy, and they walk and cycle and things like that. So I was possibly going to put it as part of the table gift for Secret Santa, or one of my particular colleagues is a mad cyclist, mad on cycling, not just crazy, but she would have liked that. But I'm not even going to see her now due to the current regulations. We can't see each other for work or have meetings or anything, so the moment will be past by the time New Year comes and everything gets resolved. But I'm not going to waste too much time thinking about that, because it's only £1. If it ends up on my bookshelf, I'd read that. I'm into non-fiction. I only really read non-fiction, so that I would read that anyway. Plus, it would help me learn, I think, about this new area that I'm living in. So, if I get to keep that, all to the good. This is another charity shop purchase. The meal that we were supposed to be having for work was going to be, quite smart, really. And I don't have any smart clothes. I just don't. I've got a couple of nice tops, but I had nothing for my bottom half. And I kind of grudge buying clothes for one-off occasions or special occasions, because usually you don't feel comfortable if it's in it anyway. If it's something that you've bought for a one-off occasion that is not your usual kind of thing, you end up buying something you wouldn't ordinarily buy, costs you more than you want to spend. You don't feel relaxed, particularly relaxed wearing it. But anyway, enough unseasonal moaning. I managed to find these trousers in a charity shop. Um, they were cheap to start with because they were only £3 to start with, but they were half price, 150. I didn't try them on. Their size 14, which, as anyone knows, women's sizing 14 can be it can't come out as a 16 or a 12, who knows. But I thought it was worth a punt for 150, and it was just they're really thin and not great trousers, but they would have done the job for one smart meal. And their Atmosphere, which is just a cheap high street brand here in the UK. So I was pleased to find those for 150 and was hoping they would fit okay, at least enough to get me through my one night. But again, that's they're kind of redundant now, because we're not having the meal. But it's a pair of smart trousers. They will come in handy at some point, and if they don't, I quite frequently clear stuff out and give it to charity shop anyway, so they'll end up back in a different charity shop. So again, that's all. I don't throw clothes away, or I'm not particularly wasteful with clothes. I don't buy many clothes. This is the last pair of socks, I promise. This is another pair of those slipper socks from Primark, and this is my son's got someone he wants to gift these to, so we got 2 pairs. This is the second pair, £3.50. I think they're a good wee gift. I mean, who wouldn't like a pair of these, even if you're just slobbing about? They're good, even if they don't last very long. It's quite a sweet present. So that's our second pair of those. I'm just rummaging in my bag and see what else we got. This is a gift just to go in someone's stocking. Chocolate gingers, and they were from one of these. It was a kind of zero waste shop. It's one of those kind of new style shops that are popping up where you can go in and fill your own containers with pasta and flour and nuts and things. And they had a few other bits and pieces, some quite interesting sweets, and one of them was chocolate gingers. And we know someone who's a big fan of chocolate gingers, so that's for them, and they'll probably be getting that lovely blackthorn salt as well. So that's someone's in line for a good stocking from us. And I'm actually sitting on the thing that I want to show you next. This was from the same charity shop as the trousers, and this is just a man's. It's a size small man's jumper, and I bought this for myself. Again, this was on their bargain rail, half price, reduced from £5 to £2.50. There's no label, that's just some meaningless label. But I'm just, every day, whatever I'm wearing, I need to put a jumper over the top because it's so cold. And quite a lot of my jumpers are quite thin or, not very robust, and they're not so good for things that I need to be doing now that I'm living more rurally, like tramping through the woods, collecting firewoods. I've been digging the garden as well because we're prepping a veg patch for to get started next year. All those kind of dirty, mucky jobs where things get caught and stained and torn. and when you just need, a bit of an extra layer. So every time I go in a charity shop now, I'm looking in on their men's jumper racks, because it's the men's jumpers that are usually the most robust. Ladies jumpers, not, they're a bit more, well, women's clothes are more decorative anyway, aren't they? So men's jumpers are what do the job for what I'm looking for, which is going in the woods and picking up wood and stuffing it in my army bergen and then tramping back down the road. And this is quite nice. It's not well worn. It's not, it's not a great jumper. It's not like it's pure wool or anything. It's just a cheap, probably mostly man-made fibres, but it will keep me warm, and it will do the job. And I actually quite like these shoulder patches. Anyway, I'm more into this jumper than I was into those thin black trousers for having a fancy Christmas meal. And the last thing I've got to show you, we didn't actually buy, but we came home with this, so I thought I'd show you. We were just heading into a little tea room in Ayr for lunch. Lunch cost me $14.95 if anyone's interested. That was a toasty, a baked potato, and a hot chocolate, 15 quid. But just as we were going in, we were going into a tea room that's right next to the entrance to the old cemetery in Ayr. And there was this guy in the pouring rain in a big anorak, and he approached my son and said, "Do you want to take this book? I'd like to give you this book." And we went in the tea room and sat down, and my son was like, "Who's that dude giving out books randomly?" And I don't know much about them. I know they're the, what you would quite casually refer to as the Hare Krishna guys, and that it's some branch of Buddhism. Quite interesting things here. So we sat down, and my son was having a wee browse of that while we were waiting for our food to come and drying off in the tea room. And I said to my son, "Oh, what's he doing loitering outside a graveyard? Surely he'd get more footfall down at a railway station or something, something like that." But of course, it's this, isn't it? It's beyond birth and death. So the other people coming in and out of the graveyard presumably may have this kind of thing on their mind, and he's catching them at an opportune time and place. But I don't know if you're meant to give a donation for this kind of thing. I'm sure they'd accept it. My son just said thanks and took it. But yeah, free book. That was a free book. So I think that's everything I have to show for this episode. I think half an hour is quite long enough, and I'm just going to post this, so no more remakes, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.